In a world that is becoming increasingly dependent on new digital technologies. Every Monday at 10:30 p.m. On KBC Channel 1, we are a TV station like no other. Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.
Feel the passion.
Will you promise me?
I swear that you will never lose me. I can't get married to you.
I'm sure you knew about it. That's why you're making fun of me.
Get out.
Who is the man in this one?
And the laughter.
Hii wigi umevakishwa. Sile wakati tulikuwa tunapishwa tukapewa mheshimiwa.
Move to the beat.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
And get informed on the latest happenings. KBC Channel 1. We are the full package.
Oh yes.
And Kenya's watching.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning to each and every one of you who is tuned in on the show. Today is the 29th of July. The month is coming to an end. How are you doing? That you have chosen us to start off your morning. It is a Monday morning. A lot has happened over the weekend. Of course, we know that the Olympics commenced, and we as a KBC are actually streaming that. So to watch all the things happening at the Olympics right here on KBC Channel 1. Well, aside from that, Raila Odinga also got to submit at the AU chairmanship. He's already submitted, and he is actually the only one who has gotten to submit out of the three who he will be going against, and that's those elections will be happening next year in February. And aside from that, today being a Monday, it is a family check, and we will be looking at how to overcome anger and bitterness. We are living at a time where many people by so many things, among them being the political space, and we will just be looking at reasons, or how rather you can be able to overcome your anger and bitterness. And joining me for that conversation will be one Pastor Justice Kimeu.
Absolutely. How to overcome anger and bitterness. I mean, it's one of those things that will hold you back if you are so much bounded by anger and bitterness. Actually, you'll feel like nothing is moving in your space. So how do you manage your anger? Even for us to watch here.
Yeah, an interesting one.
It's been a learning lesson for all of us, because at every given point, I know most of us or some of you have been in that particular space. Somebody said that in Kenya, everybody right now is you don't talk to anyone. And that's
all
it.
The bitterness falls on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you see, there are so many triggers, as you correctly put it. What are some of the background checks to bitterness and pain that we go through? A very small thing can actually trigger it. So yeah, personally, I'll be. According to Democrats, Ipsos Sinovet poll results says that Kamala Harris is, most Democrats are actually enthusiastic about Kamala Harris being the president. So they are saying that the lady is quite to the task, and now they are only waiting to see how it's going to work out. Now, according to the Ipsos Sinovet, a majority of people, Joe Biden, I'll get to that figure closely, but 88%, a large majority of 86% of Democrats and half, 52% of Americans say that Harris should be for president, with 14% of Democrats saying that the party should select a different nominee. So let's talk about 86%. That is a huge number of Democratic or Democrats in the US. That is a huge, that's like a rubber stamp. That lady, go for it. So you can imagine in 10, that is 88% Democrats are enthusiastic. 88% enthusiastic. So, and you can imagine Barack Obama has not come out clearly to kufungua turbo.
But she
Hajafungua turbo.
He actually gave her a call.
That
yes.
Obama and his wife, Michelle, they have endorsed Kamala Harris.
Yes.
Meaning when the turbo is on, things are going to change. And you know, one of the things about American politics is, one of the things they look at foreign policy, because it influences how they are going to deal with the international community, and especially the Middle East. That plays a very big way that shapes the way the US people vote for their president. So we are likely to see, we are going to see how that will pan out.
All right, very well.
Yeah.
I had not did my introduction. All right, I'm Victor Olo. Welcome to of course, this is how we do it. At the top of the hour, yes, there we go.
Yes.
At the top of the hour, I'll be joined by John Ketora, who is ODM Youth League President, Mark Ndingo, who is governance expert and political analyst, as well as George Keith, who is an advocate of the High Court. Today, I want us to look at broad-based government debate. Is it a political Waterloo or political watershed moment? That is my topic of discussion today. Is it political Waterloo or political watershed moment? I want us to break it down. Gen Z started the agitation, but what we've seen is now the politicians quote-unquote hijack the process. And a majority of Gen Z are saying that they have not been considered. Number two, ODM was picked. According to ODM, those were willing individuals by ODM or Azimio. The president has a prerogative to pick anybody, but I will also want us to take a look at Article 4 of the Constitution much more later at 7. Why don't you just stick around with me? Because you don't have to miss that discussion.
Yes.
All right, Mike, now take it away.
And indeed, looking at opportunities for political party reforms, and in that aspect, we are going to look at the inclusion of special interest groups. We are talking about women, youth, PWDs, and how they can be included in governance, especially in the electoral process. And for that conversation, I'll be speaking to Amira Abdullahi, who is the ANC Youth Chair, and also Davis bin Aluoch, who is in League. That is a conversation that you want to tune in and find out more during the program. Yes. Now, I think it's time we looked at what is happening in the papers. I have the Star with, and the first, or the story that is making headline, is how CIA stopped the US Embassy bomb plot. That is a story. It was led by Saleh Ali Saleh Nabhan, who had direct contact with bin Laden. That story, you'll find it in detail on page 6 of the Star. Inside Ruto's tours spot after deal with Raila. That is a story you'll find on page 4 of the Star newspaper. They're saying here, President William Ruto has embarked on a pacification mission demo hotspots days after naming opposition bigwigs to his broad-based cabinet. All right, it's silent pain for mothers raising children with autism. That is on page 2. Learners in Naivasha drop out of school for fishing. Many secondary school students have dropped from class in the last year to join illegal fishing around Lake Naivasha. This is according to informal settlements around the water body are the most affected as the numbers continue to rise by the day. That story is told in detail on page 3 of the Star newspaper. Alarm as civil servants fail to repay 7 billion housing loans. That is a story that is told. It's a story told on page 7 of the Star newspaper. Civil servants have failed to repay over 7 billion to acquire homes. Fresh details show that the workers were yet to repay loans issued under the Civil Servants Housing Scheme Fund. You will read that story in page 7 of the Star newspaper. Vivian?
All right, with me is the Daily Nation, and the main headline is Ruto turns to usual strategy. Now, Ruto is back to his usual strategy of touring regions he perceives will accord him a good reception after doling out political rewards and cabinet appointments, a script he has perfected since coming in power in 2022. This is according to the Daily Nation. Now, after co-opting Azimio allies in the government, President Ruto toured Tharaka Nithi County before flying to the coast, where he has camped for days after naming 4 key opposition leaders to the cabinet, including former Mombasa Governor Joho. That is a story that has been laid out on page 4 and on page 5 of the Daily Nation. Another story here that is making headlines is Kenyan police battle hate. The Kenyan police, working under the UN-backed security mission in Haiti, over the weekend exchanged fire with gangs as they sought to liberate parts of Gautia, the country's border with the Dominican Republic. Now, working wisely with the Haiti National Police, the officers engaged members of the 400 Mawozo gang on Saturday night. So they had a conflict with gang members over the weekend, and as they continue to try and safeguard Haiti. Another story right here on the Daily Nation. The Haiti story is on page 2 of the can go through that. Another story here is on National Land Commission settles county's boundaries disputes. Now, Mtito Andei and Makinon Roads town will no longer be as county boundaries are concerned. The National Land Commission went on location and established where the borders are. So as it is right now, Makinon Road belongs to Kwale County as Mtito Andei Weni. So that has been sorted out. Another story here that is making headlines on the Daily Nation before I hand it over to Victor, who has there will be no new projects launched on rejection of finance bill. President says the government will not launch new projects following the withdrawal of the financial bill 2024. President William Ruto has after attending a service at the St. Peter's Anglican Church that is in Mwatate, in Bura, Mwatate sub-county. The president said the rejection of the controversial bill the implementation of projects across the country. He asked Kenyans to bear with his government as it is unable to roll out new projects due to budget cuts. Victor?
Out of options. That is what's here on the front page of the Standard newspaper. Gachagua running out of options. Actually, this is path to 2027, or road to 2027 if you like it. It is not in doubt that Deputy President William Ruto, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua harbors ambitions to succeed President. He thought he was close to target by endearing himself to Mount Kenya. Then that target has moved quite a distance as the bromance between the president and Raila blossoms. That is what's on the front page of the Standard newspaper. And he's looking pensively. One of those file photos of the DP, Rigathi Gachagua. Is he running out of option? That is the standard that we have it. So the question is, how is it going to turn out for him? And still on the front page, parents anxious over Gen Z fever as schools close. And this now, the August break has renewed fears that the students might get caught up in the protest or even pushed to participate. IBC recruitment gathers steam. That is entering a very crucial phase, and the selection panel should, by law, be gazetted not later than tomorrow. And the selection panel should be actually listed within 14 days. So it is meeting the road. President William Ruto assented to the bill, that's the amendment bill, on July 9th, and now the selection panel should be put in place. President William Ruto, and now names of the selection panel should be, yes, in place in 14 days into law. And already, bodies have started giving names for their representatives ahead of gazettement, amid optimism that the panel will get it right this time around. Will they? Big question. All right, moving very fast. 20 Ruto dalliance in 2027 general election. Interesting times ahead in Kenya politics. This is how Kenya is. Gachagua likely victim of Raila Ruto dalliance in 2027 elections. Raila's political forces have disrupted UDA's tectonic plates. And now the plates are shifting to the disadvantage of the deputy president. Will he? My discussion. And finally, Ruto, 1,000 youth taking jobs abroad weekly. 1,000 youth taking jobs abroad weekly. And on that note, Ashim is here. Ashim, Malkia Strikers will be arch rival Brazil at 2 p.m. I go for the Malkia Strikers, of course.
Indeed, we need to support our own, of course, Malkia Strikers. And if you're it has been interesting, especially from basketball. We've seen what South Sudan have been able to do against the United States of America, despite losing on just a point. Of course, that is in KBC Channel 1. And let me duly inform this hour. And we pick it up from where Victor has left it with the president, where President William Ruto is now calling on all Kenyans to unite and work together for the prosperity of the nation. Speaking at a church service in Taita Taveta County, it is time for all leaders to rise above their political differences and cooperate in improving Kenya. The president has also urged the church to continue interceding for the...
On the third day of his coastal development tour, President William Ruto attended a church service in Mwatate, Taita Taveta County, where he sustained his calls for unity.
Ya kwamba kila hali iko na majira yake. Kwa hivyo haya ni majira ya kuungana na kushirikiana na kufanya.
Tumekaa nje kwa muda mrefu na tumeona hatujafanikiwa lolote. Na kama rais atakuja siku moja hivi na yote haya yafanyike, je, tukikaa hapo sote tuingize miguu hapo kutakuwa?
Hata unapopanga serikali, tunataka kukuambia rais, tunakuunga mkono 100% katika zile mpangilio ambazo unafanya kuhakikisha ya kwamba umeweka Kenya pamoja.
The head of state addressed the public and explained his intention to work with all leaders and political parties going forward.
Yale mambo yametokea sio maneno mabaya zaidi, kwa sababu yametupatia nafasi ya na ndio nimesema ile serikali nimeunda sasa ni serikali ya kuunganisha Wakenya wote.
President Ruto said his government was investing in creating opportunities for the youth. He paid tribute to Shadrach Modime, who hails from Taita Taveta County, for actualizing the labor export agenda.
Munajua tumekuwa tukiambiwa ati iron ore ya Taita Taveta ati si nzuri o sijui iko na nini. Lakini hiyo ilikuwa porojo. Sasa kampuni imekubali, watakuja hapa Taita Taveta County. Next month, mimi nitakuja kusimama hapa. Tumetafuta mwegezaji ataweka shilingi bilioni factory ya mambo ya iron ore hapa Taita Taveta County.
The head of state also challenged the youths to utilize ICT digital centers that the government was putting up in every ward in the country. Shira for Good Morning Kenya.
And now to the Lakeside City, where a section of the United Democratic Alliance Party's leadership in Kisumu County has defended the move by President William Ruto to nominate opposition politicians to his cabinet, led in the Lakeside County. George Ayugi, the ruling party sympathizers, argued that the formation of the broad-based cabinet with a national image was critical in solving the political impasse experienced in recent times. They, however, called on the nominated cabinet members to uphold utmost integrity and serve the interest of Kenyans if approved by the National Assembly.
These two leaders enjoy fanatical following throughout the country. Within Parliament, that the memberships of their two political parties give them almost an absolute majority. It was therefore incumbent upon the two together to heal the country from what bedevils us.
For the last 1 month, the President has demonstrated the willingness and the ability to listen, to understand the youths. Only fair that we give chance to dialogue. This is just a thread in the tapestry of finding solutions to the many legitimate concerns that were raised or that have been raised for the past.
And as a leadership of Kisumu County, we are also welcoming His Excellency President William Ruto to come and meet the people tour, and even to appreciate him for the appointment that he has done to, among other leaders, not only in Luo Nyanza but the entire Republic of Kenya.
And in other news, the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, that is IPOA, has been faulted over its perceived inaction amid increased allegation of police brutality, arbitrary arrest and abductions of peaceful protesters, especially the youth. This comes as Senator Dan Manzo called on the Director of Public Prosecutions, Renson Igonga, to resign for what he terms his failure to charge rogue police officers involved in the killing of youths during the recent.
Speaking at the burial service of Alexander Mwendwa in Kisumu, Mwingi North, Kitui County, Wiper Democratic Movement leader Kalonzo Musyoka called on families who lost their kin during the recent anti-tax protests.
We also want to say we may have no confidence in IPOA. If you are given and you are constitutional officer yako bila woga, hatuwezi damu ya watoto ipotee tena namna hii. So sisi tunasema askari ambao walipiga vijana risasi washikwe, tuone wameshikwa.
He was accompanied Member of Parliament Paul Nzegu, Kitui County Women Representative Irene Kasalu, and Kitui County Senator Enoch Wambua, among others. Separately, and Maanzo is calling on the Director of Public Prosecutions, Renson Igonga, to resign for what he terms his failure to charge rogue police officers involved in the killing of youths during the recent Gen Z-led protests.
To resign if he is worth the insult. The law says you can have inquest for each single death. We want the inquest for Alex Muteti. Evidence, let's have public inquest. Let the magistrate sit, let the public come, and they'll give you a report as to who killed Alex. So do not say you cannot charge anybody.
Maanzo was speaking during the burial of 21-year-old fatally shot by the police in Kibwezi at the peak of the protests. Kasichana Masha, Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you, Kasichana, for that report. Back to cabinet reactions, where a section of Kakamega County residents have Nomination of their immediate former governor, Wycliffe Oparanya, as Cooperatives and Medium and Small Enterprise Cabinet Secretary. Oparanya is one of the 4 Orange Democratic Movement leaders recently nominated by President William Ruto to form his broad.
Among the 4 members of the Orange Democratic Movement recently nominated by President William Ruto to form his new cabinet is the immediate former Kakamega County Governor Wycliffe Oparanya.
Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya, Ministry of Cooperatives and Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Development.
An announcement that seems to have been sweet music to the ears of a section of Kakamega County residents.
Tunajua kwamba parliament inaenda kupitisha Oparanya bila kuangalia kando. Ni watu wanamjua, wamefanya naye kazi na wanajua yeye ni mchapa kazi. Sasa ukaweka mahali hata kama umemfunga macho na matokeo inatoka.
Oparanya is a good man, he is knowledgeable, he is educated, he is a performer. Let him be the minister for cooperative.
Oparanya was nominated as cabinet secretary for cooperative prices and is awaiting vetting by parliament. The former Council of Governors chair is a PhD holder in economics from the University of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania and a certified public accountant. Other ODM members nominated are Orange Democratic Movement Chair John Badi, National Assembly Minority Leader Opio Wandai, and immediate former Mombasa County Governor Ali Hassan Joho. Tilio Marco reporting for Good Morning.
Now, still within the Azimio outfit, opposition leader Raila Amolo Odinga has maintained the movement has no coalition agreement with President William Ruto's Kenya Kwanza alliance. He further clarified that ODM was still in the opposition and part of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition. This as Homa Bay County Governor Gladys Wanga faulted Wiper Democratic Movement leader Kalonzo Musyoka and his allies, allegedly instigating a plot to dethrone Raila Odinga from his position as the Azimio leader.
Days after 4 Orange Democratic were nominated to join the cabinet, ODM leader Raila Odinga now maintains that his party is still in the opposition.
But we say that if you want to take some of our experts and you release them to join your government and work in accordance with the ethics of our party, ODM and Azimio.
The Azimio la Umoja, who spoke at Nyachunya village in the outskirts of Siaya town during the late Evans Orenjo's burial, said ODM has no pact with the ruling Kenya Kwanza coalition.
We have not changed. This position has not changed. We said we want to see a new Kenya, and the people of Kenya are entitled to it. And that's why we said we agree with Gen Z.
He maintained that he will head the calls to mount pressure on the government to address the issues raised by
that have been raised by Gen Zs are not new issues. There are similar issues which we raised last time, even not even on the streets. We talked about unemployment in our country. We talked about high cost of living in our country. Corruption, rampant corruption in the country. We talked about tribalism and ethnicity, discrimination in our country.
Separately, Homa Bay County Governor Gladys Wanga accused a section of Azimio la Umoja coalition leaders led by Kalonzo Musyoka of attempting to dethrone Raila Odinga.
And the day that Azimio leader will leave the seat, it will be up to him to say with his team that he is leaving for whatever reason. But today, what I have seen from the meeting saying that now Raila is no longer the leader of Azimio, anybody else, I find it to be like a coup.
Wanga spoke at Agoro Sare Primary School during the distribution of 3 school buses in Kasipul.
Wave from Nairobi Kapedo Bridge found at the border of Baringo and Turkana counties remain a bandit-prone area dreaded by communities living on its either side. Now, frequent banditry attacks have scared away public transport vehicles, leaving the residents with no choice. Lorries and land cruisers, which only ply the route on Mondays and Thursdays.
hilly grounds that nestle Capedo Bridge render it prone to banditry as the criminals easily take cover and hit targets from vantage points.
Where we don't have chiefs, we don't have ACCs, we don't have government presence, we don't have hospitals.
Wengi wenye wako na mimba hata mwingine mwenye ameisha damu wanakufia hapa kijijini.
This has denied residents a reliable public transport system for close to 3 decades.
Hatuna pikipiki, hatuna lori, hatuna matatu ya watu kusafiria.
The biggest problem is this road is not developed, and that has really impeded private investors to bring their own vehicle.
Achigi bus was the last public transport on the route in 1997 on the Capedo-Chamelingot-Nakuru route. Since then, police lorries and land cruisers that ply the route only on Mondays and Thursdays have been the locals' only means of transport.
Tumianga hapa sana ni ile ya askari. Kutokuwa na hiyo magari ya kusafiri kuanzia huko mpaka hapa ni kwa sababu ya ukosefu wa usalama.
Kama kuna kitu imetumaliza zaidi ni usafiri.
This has forced them to shop in bulk for their necessities. Firewood. Insecurity has rendered residents of Capedo town that sits on barely 18 hectares prisoners, as moving outside their boundary is life-threatening.
Hii daraja hii ni ile ya wakati ya wasungu. I think it was
2022 mwezi wa 8 waliweza kuchomwa na watu 11 waliweza kupoteza maisha katika njia ya moto, na wakati huo center ya Napeto ikama.
Records of people who have lost their lives here include that of GSU Commandant Amadou Tebakok, who was killed on the 17th of January 2021.
Askari wameuliwa hapo, RDU aliuliwa hapo, maaskari wengi wamepoteza maisha hapo, na hata wakazi wa Capedo hapa walipoteza maisha hapo.
Tumepoteza wazazi, tumepoteza watoto wadogo, tumepoteza wanawake.
And out of Capedo is through Lomelo, Napeitom, Lokoro, but its passage through Kasarani Plains is equally dangerous, with 21 police officers having been shot dead there in 2014. Peace missions between the warring Turkana and Pokot communities have not yet yielded much.
Kidogo tu wakati wanasema iko amani kidogo, ndio watu sasa wanaanza kukimbia kusanya ikiumana ni kuni tu, kwa sababu huwezi choma makaa.
Ni Mungu tulikosea, serikali tulikosea, ama ni nini kipo mahali hapa ili isikuje ikabadilika ikawa kama miji mingine ya nchi.
Literacy and underdevelopment is now being seen as the lasting solution. Serafina Robi for Good Morning Kenya.
That report by Robbie all the way from Capedo brings a closer to the news segment we have for you here in Good Morning Kenya. And of course, on the other side of this particular break will be my colleague Victor Lo, who has already have guests here with us in studio to just dissect the various topical issues that are making headlines on your newspapers this morning. My name is Abdiaziz Hashim. Don't go too far for that discussion.
I never heard the music so sweet. I repeat.
Wagwan, me brethren, big things are going. Remember, each and every Monday we have to shell down the place with nothing but the best of smooth way the vibes in your favorite station. You know these things, man.
Alafu kila Tuesday, kata simu tupo side, giving you Kenyan music from the 254.
And of course, you can spice up your Wednesday by enjoying blazing hot hip hop and R&B jams.
she don't got no label. She say she want bottles.
Vibes and vibes as we go all across Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, all the way to Tanzania to give you nothing but the best on Afro Thursday. Make sure you make a date with us each and every single Friday with me, DJ_Liza Diva,
DJ Cold,
and me, Wanjiko. This is Club One Extra.
Unanifanya nisikie kunyongwa Hadija ai Nani especially ukisonga.
Are you a talented artist? Or are you passionate about a topic you want to discuss? But money can be very hard to find for an upcoming artist. Don't worry, Studio Mashinani has got your back. Sign up on ajira.co.ke to book a session with your music and video producers across the country. Work on your music, jingles, spoken words, and even podcasts to realize your dream. All for free. Studio Mashinani, Radani Talent.
All right, it's now 7 minutes past 7 a.m. Good morning, welcome to the program. My name is Victor Lo, and now being Monday, it's Eye on Politics, and this is where we'll be discussing matters political, what has been making politics in the last few days in the country and what you should be expecting in the coming days. Welcome, and stay with me until the end of the show. On my set today, I have John Ketora, who is ODM Youth League President. Join me on set, as well as Mark Ndingo, who is a governance and political analyst, joining me on set. I'll also be joined by Wakili George Keith shortly in studio. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
John Ketora.
Asante sana.
Karibu. All right, so let me take you through. Actually, somebody just tweeted that why not do something that I used to do before. Traffic. I don't know how you're going to do it, but I'll try. That's a request from somebody. Hey, can you just get out of the house and go to work? Get out of the house. So let me start with, it's sure that somebody missed traffic update, okay? Okay, quickly, let me start with Wayaki Way from ABC Place coming all the way to, that is to Villarosa Kempinski, moving pretty fine as we speak. That is the entire stretch all the way from Kangemi coming. Actually, the entire Wayaki Way is moving pretty fast and very good. It's clear past Westlands Roundabout and Shopping Center. They are moving very nicely until you get to around Uhuru Highway. This is University. This just after Nyayo House, getting into the CBD, finally getting to around Uhuru Highway, and ultimately, as you head towards Langata Road, moving. So what I have here, Langata Road also joining CBD, moving very well. I can see all the way from Langata Road, that is past Wilson Airport, moving pretty well. What about Raila Odinga Way? This is formerly of Mbagathi Way. If you don't know, that from Timol heading towards City Mortuary, moving pretty fine. Nothing much to report about. And now here, also joining Gong Road. Gong Road, kila kitu iko sawa. This is what I have here along Gong Road. So far, so good. The entire stretch. Oh, yes. This is around Ligindogo, that's around Riara, and around Junction Mall. That's where we have a bit of some traffic, but don't worry, because at that point now, that's where you join that side of Kingara Road, heading towards Lavington and Gitanga Road. That's Kingara Road, which is always a very big problem. So far, so good. Let me come to, yes, Watwa Theka. What a Thika Road. Thika Road, Globe Roundabout, the biggest roundabout in East and Central, is moving pretty fine. Roundabout, Globe Roundabout, moving okay. Muranga Road coming to Ngara, that, yes, this is past Ngara, moving okay. Now, the usual culprit is, we are at Pangani. This is around Mudaiga Square. The entire stretch of the overpass and the underpass coming all the way from DCI, not moving well at all. It's to head towards DCI, and that is just around the Gulf Coast there. That's not so good. But the entire stretch of Thika Road, this is moving all the way past Survey as you head towards Utali Hotel. That is both sides of the expressway and the road. Venye kuko hivi, ikitumeenda past KCA University. Let me just use Kiswahili at that point. Excuse me for that. But then, wow. All right. So that's heading up to around GSU. That's how it looks like, Thika Road. Be patient. If you can get an alternative route to get to the CBD, the better. But some of us, we have to be here early enough. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. This is how we do it. Very fast, let me take you through again for the sake of join me on set. Let me start with the front page of the Standard newspaper. Gachagua running out of options. This is what I have here on the front page of the Standard newspaper. Gachagua running out of options. It is not doubt that Deputy President harbors ambitions to succeed President William Ruto. And if he thought he was by endearing himself to Mount Kenya, then that target has moved quite a distance as a bromance between the President and Raila blossoms. That is also on the front page of the Standard. The IEBC recruitment gathers steam. Why it matters, that is what you have. Several constituencies have not had representation for a very long time because you don't have IEBC in place. American polls enter home stretch. That is, Americans will be going to the ballot. Now that is a big question. Who will be the next president? Government clears Raila path to AUC. Submissions today. All right. So Raila Odinga's bid for African Union Commission chairperson is gaining momentum. His application documents ahead of the submission deadline on August 6th. That is, and people have been asking whether Raila Odinga had submitted his nomination papers. So we have it here that he signed his application letter. Ruto, Gen Z movement, a wake-up call to all on good governance. Is it? Something that we'll also be taking a look shortly. And now, something to do with Gen Z and agitation. Gen Z's fever as schools close. The August break has renewed fears that students might get caught up in the protest or even pushed to participate. That is what I have here. So let me start with of the front page of the Standard newspaper. Gachagua running out of options. Do you think so? That's as per the Standard. Take it away.
Yeah. Thank you, Olo, and thank you again for inviting me for this show. Let me start from where you have left it, yes. Today's Standard. Gachagua running out of options. If we go back to some months before the broad-based, you realize that Gachagua had said he was going to make to lay some traps in the State House so that Raila Odinga was not going to have any conversation with the president. And now we've seen for the last 1 week or so, the president has invited ODM party to form a coalition, a broad-based government. If you look at the events of the last 1 week, I think we are going to have Gachagua. Maybe he's going to find other ways of solidifying the so-called central province. Because having Raila in the government leaves Gachagua with very little options, if any, because it will give the president some options of maybe nominating a different in elections of 2027, because he has the Luo Nyanza in his government. So it leaves Gachagua with some little options. I think he'll require to do some more homework as pertains to his ambition of succeeding the president. But politics, being politics, is long time, and he might surprise us. So we are yet to see how he's going to maneuver out of this coalition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's wait and see how it happens and what will happen later on. But before you continue, has also joined us. Wakili, good morning.
Good morning. How are
Good
you?
to see you.
Fine, thank you. Good
Karibu
morning,
sana.
Kenya.
All right.
Asante sana.
So, John, what do you make of the front page? Gachagua running out of options?
Yeah. Good morning, Kenyans. Let's be and positive, because that's our vibes, regardless of our economic hardships. On the take you are saying, I think we are over speculating, because I don't know what Gachagua could be planning. I thought he's a DP, so he's meant to support his boss. Up maybe, or I don't know whether he intends to run in the next election. But anyway, I get sometimes intrigued by his kind of politics. This somebody who's ever confined the mountain. Yesterday I was listening to him saying, my people, my people are in government, my people got slots. So this is somebody who with a lot of fixation about, and you know he's a DP, deputy president. Presidency covers the whole nation. So he's, I don't know what he could be planning, but as far as I know, he's supposed to support his boss up to the next general election. And maybe from there, he should now be coming to his ambition. So, but in case he's planning to run in the next election, I don't know, then he has a hard time, because then it means he's going to fight his boss in courts. That is in the now. He has to run away, get himself out of that coalition or from the party.
But 2027. But correctly, the way you put it, if he was to run, then most probably he'll have to get out of UDA or Kenya Kwanza and then chart his way forward. Wakili, good morning once again. Gachagua running out of option. We just take a look at what we have on the front page before we get to the topic. And yeah, is he running out of option now that Raila Odinga has been co-opted, quote unquote?
Yes, he is running out of options, and I agree with the entitling today. You relate to the public with you expose yourself with what I would call a dominant character. A dominant character would be what you want people to read out. Fact being that you can, at that level, expose yourself out there and market yourself as a nationalist or an ethnic representation. I do think that Gachagua has missed the point on what the office portends. What we did in the Constitution, because of the abuse we saw, reacting to President Moi, former president, on how he handled presidency and the position of deputy presidency, we therefore joined it to the hip with the seat in itself, essentially protecting the deputy presidency, but subjecting the deputy presidency to at the behest and whim of the president. And therefore, the institution of presidency here is conjoined between the deputy president, and they sell themselves as a conjoinment of one ticket to the seat. Therefore, when they are elected, they are inseparable, and we make it very different. The president to fire the deputy president, and equally we make it very difficult for the deputy president to chart his way forward away from the principle of collective responsibility within that institution. Suffice it to say, therefore, the deputy president has no wherewithal his own way. It is therefore in the Constitution undermining the seat of the president for the deputy president to chart his way out in public, in office, at a personal level. But in public, they are conjoined because of the prescription of the Constitution. When, therefore, politically, the deputy president seems to have a confrontation, what it confirms is the indiscipline to the seat, and therefore not subjecting himself to the calling of the seat, being an assistant to the president, the principal assistant to the president. And therefore, if the president, in maneuvering the constitution of that office within the confines of the 2010 Constitution, I think, from the reading of the recent events, was not getting ultimate support from. In doing so, he had to confront the situation as it was, and he had to do the ultimate, which basically is very difficult, because you can't run a campaign, for instance, under UDA or Kenya Kwanza, but the constitution of the opposition into government. It means it's a desperate situation for the president. In doing so, you are fixing certain things. There was the Gen Z element which excited all that. Yes, that is true. But again, for the president to a way of managing the deputy president was first the Mudavadi factor. To create the office of a chief cabinet and give him roles that seem to be in competition with the deputy president was an indicator of.
Again, they deny that there was no duplication of roles.
Yes, but there was an indicator in terms of hierarchical repositioning or positioning in government that there was a preference, an element of preference. Number two, and that I think is fixing the politics around the deputy presidency. The same exacerbated by the protest of the Gen Zs. Bringing in, for purpose of surviving the government of the time, the opposition into government was also fixing many things, but one of it is fixing the office of the deputy president on account of the fact that it didn't seem to be aligned to what the president was speaking. Remember, if you agree to work with everything that he's going to do, and therefore the principal assistance includes whatever the president is going to do. If you don't agree with him, there are two ways of doing it. If you're principled enough is to walk away from that institution because it's no longer. Martha Karua walked out from Azimio, or alternatively is to toy the line and buy time until time is ripe enough for you to chart your way out. We do not allow in that constitution, the way we did it, is going to undermine the president. That is not allowed. What are the options, therefore? The House having bolted in the manner of the constitution of the current contemporary issues in politics, it means the deputy president office has been divided. That the working environment seems to check him here and there. Of course, with many other things that have come up.
Has been devalued in what terms? Because as far as I'm concerned,
I will explain. It is intact on paper, but in terms of the functionalities, the dominance of the personality in the occupation of the deputy president office seems to be as it should, on account of the fact that the roles are dominantly or seem to be preferred to be exercised by the new reconstitution of government. And therefore it is true.
With specific focus on Musalia Mudavadi or?
To Musalia Mudavadi, the inclusion of Raila Odinga de facto, by fact, not by law, into government. And also the fact that for purposes of the roles the president, the deputy president is now going to play in assisting the presidency, I think will be those that must be in circumstantial, prevailing circumstances.
Hold on to that, because that's actually part of the discussion. I don't know why. Have you gone through my notes? He's already jumped into my discussion, what we're going to discuss. All right. I'll look at what we have on the front page of the Daily Nation as well. Ruto turns to usual strategy. That is what we have here. Ruto turns to usual strategy. He camped into around the coastal region for days. launching several projects. And last night he had a town hall at the Kenya School of Government in Mombasa. He addressed the nation there, and here we are. He has come in course for days after picking Joho to join his cabinet. And now it says that, so is it a case of same old script? Is now back to usual strategy of touring regions he perceives will accord him a good perception or reception rather after doling out political rewards in cabinet appointments. A script he has perfected since coming to power in 2022. So the political tours are usually disguised. He is also on the front page of the Daily Nation. Mark, again, very quickly, what's same old script?
Thank you, Olo. I think if you look at what has been happening for the last 2 days, with the kind of movement the president is doing, I would say we are going back to the old way of campaign. And what I think the president is doing is trying to endear himself to the populace. Because the happenings of the Gen Zs had put him in a very awkward position. Managed to go to a church service. He could not even visit people around the country. So I think he had no other option rather than people and sell the government programs. And I think this is one way of to know what the people are saying. But one thing for sure is that we are not getting the point as to why we've our country in this this situation. If you allow me to go back to the Gen Z demands, you'll find that the Gen Zs were, they was about the governance. But you see what happened, the politicians hijacked the situation and talked themselves to the government. And that's why you'll find the president is moving those places where he has managed to nominate ministers so that he can find some footing. And I think we need to go back to where it was with the Gen Zs, so that we don't seem to be solving political issues instead of solving what the Gen Zs had wanted our country to. Because if you look at the problem we have of governance, the president could have even managed to do things in a different way by forming the government as opposed engaging the political parties, whereby you'll find he got some ministers from the ODM party, and that in itself is, I think, is putting the situation, because the Gen Zs were not asking for the president to form a government or a broad-based government, as he calls it, but were demanding for accountability. They were demanding for the government to fight corruption and so many things. So I think the president is going back to his old ways of campaigning. That is not the right direction.
What would have been an alternative?
The alternative would have been the president should have, when he dissolved the cabinet, I would have wished the president should have formed a government as a face of the country. And you don't need to sit down party leaders so that you can get the people to nominate.
Okay.
Yeah, the president has the mandate to choose somebody, Kisumu, somebody from Kitui, from Machakos, from Kilifi, not necessarily going through the party leaders, but he has that mandate where on merit. But if you see what is happening now, he has just gone to the parties and he has gotten the politicians. I think I'm going to help him much. And that's why you'll find him going back to the people, so that he can have that opportunity to campaign and adhere himself to the people.
Let's take a break. I'll circle back. I'll come back to you, John, as well as Wakili George, so that we can take a look at what's on the two papers very quickly, and then we get into the substantive topic of discussion. Stay with us. Good morning.
France welcomes the world for the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. In this edition, heroic Team Kenya is pushing boundaries as well. More significantly, Kenya is intent on claiming victory at the quadrennial sporting event comprising of 45 sports that will be staged from 24th of July through to the 11th of August. Here comes a dose for everyone.
Yes, it is!
For the athlete, it is chasing a dream of a lifetime. And for the fan, witness history in the making, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports.
Technology has become a crucial part of our society. Technological advancements, so much of our everyday lives would be drastically different. As technology develops, it strives to fulfill the changing needs of society. This means that technology exists to help us achieve the things that we wouldn't be able to achieve with. Take on Tech looks at the advantages and downside of technological innovation in a world that is becoming increasingly dependent on new digital technologies. Every Monday at 10:30.
Welcome back. All right, so it was time for coffee break, by the way. Literally. All of us have their cups of coffee. Director, just like that, I wish you took Wakili sipping that hot coffee. Okay? Malkia strikers are at the Olympics today, and they are fighting it with Brazil. Let me start with you, Mark. Malkia strikers or Brazil, but they've never beaten Brazil. What do you think? At 2 p.m.
Yeah, I think they are going to try, and we pray they are going to do some improvement.
What sport did you play in high school?
High school, I played football.
Ah, okay, I see. And you, John?
Yeah, I was a footballer and a volleyballer at the same time. Volleyballer.
All right.
Yeah, maybe a draw for today.
A draw?
Yeah.
Volleyball?
No, I'm saying Maleki draw.
So they're going to tie?
Yeah, that's what we wish. Because it's very hard to beat.
Those people are arch rivals in volleyball.
No, today is football, isn't it?
Today is volleyball. That is Malkia Strikers, the volleyball team, and Brazil. So you can imagine how it's going to be at the Olympics. But we hope
Malkia will take
our ladies. You know, what do you make?
You know, there's nothing special with those Brazilians. Nothing. I've looked at them, and I think there's I honestly don't think it's the branding that they have, the marketing they have, but otherwise Malkia Strikers are good.
They're good.
Let me tell you, we've seen surprises even in football. Small teams beating established teams. Of course, it's under 23.
It can happen.
So. Yeah. So we are going to beat them because of the hand of their God. Otherwise, we ought to beat them.
All right.
I mean, these Malkia Strikers have been on it far too long now.
For far too long.
It's time we break the ceiling. And the break ceiling can't be Brazil. It should be something else. Brazilian, we're going to beat them. So we'll rally behind the Malkia Strikers. They should do their best because the heart of the nation is with them. Especially the Gen Zs, they're with them.
All right. So Malkia Strikers, wherever you are, I don't know what's the taking it at 2 p.m. That's a mouth-watering kind of match. We'll be taking a look at that and be watching. All the best to the Malkia Strikers. Okay, let's come back to you, John. Strategy. This now, as far as this is concerned, the political campaigns and going into church services, something that he had missed for quite some time. In 1 minute, if you can.
Yeah. The president is telling the country that I'm in charge. You can't just push me to the wall and you expect me to have to draw my clothes. And I will really mishandle anybody who wants to play with me. And because he's a politician generally, but as Kenyans, and that one came clearly right from the mandamano we had last year, the Sufuria movement. You remember?
Yes.
Now it was escalated by the Gen Zs. So the country is reaching to a point to break away from the norms and just let this country be free. You can try to silent it at the moment, try to ignore it, but the fact is the time for this country to change has come. And you can now see it is being driven by people that we never thought they would drive it. We thought it could only be driven by the opposition. So we were just telling the president, this is not about politics. Don't take it like politics, that now I have to go attend a church service, go and promise you some development that are not even budgeted for. Bwana President, just tone down. We are going to give you, and we have given you a script of what you want to follow. One, we said the issues at hand. Those who were injured during mandamanos, those who are killed must be compensated. And then from there, those who are in cells needs to be released. Those abductions must stop. And then there, we have a national conversation where we sit as Kenyans and say, these are the issues we want to be handled. And you know the reforms that has to happen in public service. There are reforms that must happen within the police service. There are reforms that must happen, even some of it that are constitutionally. When you were talking about the constitution, and so now saying that the opposition is being opted in. You see, there was the issue of BBI that never saw the light of the day. But there are a lot of ideas that were really to transform governance of this country. Because the key issue that needed to be handled, and that's what the president is trying to handle in a way not that radical, is the issue of inclusivity. That's why you heard him saying, I have to reach out to my friends from the opposition. Because what he's trying to handle, he's seeing it where he's seated, that the issue of inclusivity is a very key issue. And now we are telling him that issue of inclusivity must be driven down completely, up, down completely. It is not just at the top. It must cascade down so that every region, every community, every race, every feels they're also represented. It is not just going to be like what are being termed as shareholders, government. Because government cannot be a shareholder definitely, because it is all of Kenya. So it is a matter that the president now needs to tone down a bit. Now he is going to have a cabinet, definitely, because the issues he was, as the opposition was seeing, now we have our people there who are going to guide him.
Okay. That
you could see at this angle, these are the issues you must address.
All right.
Yes.
I'll come back to that. Wakili, very quickly, to his usual script.
That's true. That's true. It's a correct observation. But I want to put it this way. I think the problem may not be him. We established the institution of presidency in the Constitution and merged a few things in there. He is the head of state. He represents the symbolic sovereign of the state. Then he's an administrator and the ultimate CEO of government and therefore head of government. Those are two different issues ordinarily in law. And then the other one is he's the commander of KDF. Those roles ordinarily have no problem until an issue comes up. When you have to be the head of state, there are two issues that you have to work around. There is the issue of element into fused there, which is the legality of the presidency at the time, especially therefore, President William Ruto was elected legally by pronouncement of court, Supreme Court, into office. He's legally the president. The problem is when he becomes an administrator. Therefore, he is the CEO of the country. He brings the issue of the question of legitimacy. Legitimacy may not necessarily agree with legality. So legally he may be the president, but when it comes to legitimacy, it's the question of the leadership of the time. Every the Gensis questioned it. They questioned how the government was conducting itself in terms of the administrative element, and not as head of state. There was therefore friction between those. When legitimacy, the space for legitimacy as a president is reduced, that space, the occupation of that space in terms of the national psyche is questioned. There'll be a friction and as the head of the country. When that happens, therefore, because other countries are separated, for instance, Britain has separated those things. There's a king and then there's a prime minister. Now, when it happens like it did in Kenya, people are disagreeing with you on administrative element aspect. Not necessarily that you're not the president of the Republic of Kenya. It's because the administration element is questioned. And therefore, you have to find a way of expanding or grabbing back that. I want to repeat that legitimacy sometimes becomes very important and the dominant issue because the people, it's a command issue. Whether when you go to a place, people accept because they agree with your leadership. It happens even a small micro element, such as families. You are a father because you provide for the family and you act as such. So, but if you do not provide for the family, then the legitimate aspect of being a father in that family is questioned. And that becomes a friction between the symbolism of being a father and the administrative aspect of it. If I have to as a part of reasoning. And therefore, he needs to go back and reclaim the legitimacy. And these are the tactics that you use by going back to the subjects and appearing to be dominant over them. Remember, when you dominate on the population, conquer and dominate them. To conquer and to dominate them means they accept you within the authority. And authority can disappear.
The question is, how long will that?
It depends on the anger that seems to have dissipated, albeit I think it's not a constructive way of handling it, because you have simply you have dealt with the issue cosmetically by relational. Probably even antithetic to what you did, on account of the fact that what the Gen Zs were asking was good governance. Is changing the cabinet and fusion of the opposition part of good governance? Maybe yes, on account of the fact that the threat, the existential threat to the governance or the crown at the moment was Gen Zs. How you address this came to be because the voice of the opposition had been suppressed on account of the personality aspect of what represented opposition had probably not been actively engaging in matters of opposition because he was going to the AU, and that's Raila Odinga. The second issue is was left. The Gen Zs found a tone to it and they excited it. And therefore, whatever the opposition ought to have done is what the Gen Zs actually did. They called on the finance bill. They called on the issue the CAS, the administrative secretaries, they called, which was dropped. They called on the issue of the cabinet, and it was dissolved, and it is on casualties, and therefore reconstituted. Now, why did the opposition come?
Question. Actually, that was now leading me there. Was raiding the opposition the best solution? Okay, in terms of inclusivity, the way he's putting it, you know, the broad. Was it the right way to forming the next set of cabinet that he's talking about? In 1 minute,
I think it was.
I think it
was. I think it was because circumstances were that, you know, you close a house, you put a cat, and you attack the cat, and it has no place to do. It's not going to run away from you. It's going to confront you. The president had reached a situation where he had to make a decision. And I think that bringing the opposition is bringing the voice of being raised by Gen Zs. So it is at that time to ameliorate on the existing political circumstances in the contemporary. However, the Gen Zs seemed opposition without the opposition fold enveloping them, which means therefore that they were not represented by the people who went there. And therefore, although the issues they are raising seems to be issues aligned with the opposition, they are not the same issues. They're not in person being represented by the people, the opposition that went into government. And will be that the Gen Zs still have can continue with the oppositionist voices as against government. Now, the other issue which comes there is this, that the opposition, having moved into government, must speak for government. And therefore, they cannot then, under the principle of collective responsibility in the Constitution, speak for the opposition will continue, therefore, to be suppressed in the voice, and the Gen Zs, in fact, have an ultimate more and bigger space to even voice themselves.
I know John might not like this, Wakili. Thank you. John, ODM Youth League president. So the president picked 4 people from ODM. Azimio is made up of several parties. Why didn't he go to other parties and pick maybe from Wiper, you know, NACE? Why 4? When you talk of John Mbadi, chair, PSC, when you talk about Opiyo Wandayi, he has a position in parliament. We have got Joho, deputy party leader, as well as Oparanya, deputy party leader. Go ahead.
Yeah. You know, the country was at the crossroads. We were going to the precipice, to the abyss. Because what were the options that are there for the president?
There were so many options.
No, just allow me to say.
I believe so.
No, what could have been the first option? If State House was, if the agencies managed to raid State House, what could have been the option for the president? To resign, isn't it? Or,
not in law. At least not in law.
No, but what was left for him? The country was becoming ungovernable, or we were going to anarchy, because all those demands were there, all that push was there, and the demos that were meant to be peaceful started becoming ugly, and things were getting. So the president, I am very sure, he reached out to all the leaders in this country. I mean, top leaders in the political space, definitely. And therefore, even for us as Azimio, we had to sit and think about this country. And we realized that Ruto, we decided to go for Kenya. So we gave...
You said Azimio?
Yes.
All right.
I'm coming there.
Okay.
We told the president, you have... now we have welcomed you, we have listened to you, we have to save this country. Within our hierarchy, whom do you prefer to work with?
Okay.
And I think he has a lot of, he had a way of selected whoever he had selected. And then definitely was endorsed or blessed by our party leader. He had a discussion, our party leader, he had a discussion at the level of Azimio. And the other principals definitely did not agree with us that it is right. To them, they found it is not right, but we were telling them now, so what is the option? Because this country must be peacefully stable.
So are you confirming that the president had a discussion with the entire Azimio brigade and other party leaders?
Definitely. That one you can't deny, yes.
So other party leaders were aware of and the principles?
Yes, and they sat.
They did not agree?
To them...
What were the proposals during the discussion, if you are privy to any?
No, definitely the proposal was so address the issues that are ailing the country. That was the general conversation. So where do we start? You remember they said at KCC?
Yes.
A national dialogue. That one. Then there was we have dissolved cabinet. So we are going to have, the starting point is a broad-based government of national.
Some names floated from other parties, apart from ODM?
You see, the discussion was first, do we agree that we are forming a government of national unity?
Right.
So it was to be discussed at the level partner of the coalition from their party level. Then it was to escalate upwards, to be escalated upwards. And now at the Azimio focus.
And that's what they declined. Other party leaders declined.
I'm not sure whether they declined.
Because from their action, that
no,
says
I'm not sure whether they declined.
Okay.
It is a consultation.
It cannot be under consultation because 4 people have been already picked from ODM.
Yes.
So that chapter is closed.
It may not have been closed.
Okay.
Yes. This is a very dynamic issue. I don't think that to me I take it like it's still an issue that's under consultation. Because you even had Mheshimiwa Kalonzo saying we are going for a transitional government of national unity.
Yeah.
So, transitional. In our discussion at a party level, we did not have the term transitional. So it's an issue in progress. It's work in progress. So I don't.
Another person might be picked from the Azimio umbrella.
Yes.
Okay.
It's an issue still under consultation, because the bigger picture is grave and serious issues that drag the country down, and that issue has to be attacked by all Kenyans in a way that to be confronted a unit point of view, or from a stronger point. And that can only happen if, and that's why the president said, I am inviting all the leaders. We tackle those issues.
Let me get from Mark. Mark, what do you make of that? Because John says that most probably it's still work in progress, and it's a work in, consultation that's still taking place, and most likely we might get more people from, 1 or 2 people from Azimio. Kaka Karua has served notice to exit, go ahead.
First of all, I think that the decision to incorporate ODM party into the government was an option, because there were so many options. The president could have done things differently. Because the way I see it, the president is trying to, we are trying to kill an infection with the painkillers, because if the opposition joins the government and the country finds itself, I don't think we'll have solved the problem of the Gen Zs, because looking at where we have come from, it was the best time for the president to do some radical changes and some radical reforms in our political systems.
Yes.
Because when you bring opposition people to the government, I think what you are trying to do is you are trying to ways of how you are going to win the next election of 2027.
Do you think in the president's heart or in his mind he thought that the Gen Z movement was pushed by the opposition? Putting opposition into the cabinet, then the Gen Z's fire is already dimmed.
I think the president was trying to find a way of trying to silence the Gen Zs. And I don't think knew that the opposition was working for the Gen Zs, because all along we've been told about some leaders financing the Gen Zs. But you see the government as the intelligence to get these people and put them into book. But up to now, nobody has been arrested and charged.
So do you think the president has achieved?
No, I don't think the president has achieved.
The Gen Z has been addressed?
No, the Gen Z's issues have not been addressed. And the way we see things, I think the Gen Z's are going to continue with their agitation. They are going to demand for more things. And I think what is going to happen on the side of the political wing, the president is going to have his, to run his government. And I don't think we are so we are waiting to see how the president is going to deal with the Gen Z's demands, because a lot of things have been demanded by the Gen Z's.
Okay. So allow me to, so it means therefore that the Gen Z had their list of demands.
Yes.
None of them has been met.
The only issue which has been met and then dropped
the finance bill,
dropped in fact the only demand which was met was the issue of the cabinet was not met, because the president dissolved the cabinet after 1 week. So 6 of them went back. So we did not solve any problem.
Let's put it this way. Somebody must, because the moment the president said that these people are leaderless, formless, faceless, etc., etc., perhaps somebody, can you assume that somebody lied to the president? This is being pushed by the opposition. So the only way to do this is to pick a few members from the opposition and your government.
If you look at what happened, I think the president was given, I might say he was given the wrong intelligence. Because if you look at what happened in 25th of June, Gen Z stormed the parliament. The DP came out with some allegations about how the intelligence was being given to the president. The former president were the ones financing the Gen Zs. I think if we were to go with that, maybe or maybe not, the president was given the wrong information of who was funding the Gen Zs, because going to the opposition to join the government,
Yes.
it confirms the president had a different intelligence.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have cups of coffee. Can we sip as it I'll come back. And when my most interesting point is we have Article 4. So did Article 4, Wakili, envisage a situation where a winning political candidate can run to a losing political party or candidate and pick a candidate and co-opt in the government? That's as part Article 4. Let's talk about that and much more when we come back. Coffee time. Stay with us.
Unajua, token meta update ni rahisi na ni free. Ukipata ujumbe kutoka Kenya Power, yani SMS, weka kodi ya kwanza ku reset, alafu weke kodi ya pili ku update. Update token mita yako. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na Kenya Power.
Safaricom, proud sponsor of Team Kenya at the Olympics.
The USA within seconds of taking them into the place for the 5th or 6th finish in this Olympic Games men's rugby sevens at the Stade de France. Who was at the heart of everything, Varian Basquet, who came on as a substitute like Dupont. He scored that try. Ryan Rabage then scored as well, set up by Dupont. He scored. Vincent Oyala was denied a try by a magnificent tackle, but in the end, Kenya able to come through in the end. And it was a fairly good victory as well, and they will feel very good about themselves.
Safaricom, proud sponsor of Team Kenya at the Olympics.
Actually, I asked a question. So Article 4, we are here. The president picked 4 people from ODM. Of course, Azimio is a conglomeration of different parties, but he only picked the Constitution. Article 4, did it envisage a situation where now a winning coalition, a political party and its candidate can now go to the losing political party and its candidate and pick members of that and co-opt them into the government?
Well, it's a good question because it's a question we probably are grappling with out them. It may not be as easy to answer as it seems, because on the face of it, Article 4 says Kenya is a sovereign and the Republic of Kenya shall be a multi-party democratic state founded on national values and principles of governance. That's provided in Article 10. Now, the presupposition of democracy is that there's more than one party that must be allowed to exist. And we put it there because we are, of what we call a mischief rule in legislation drafting, legislative drafting, where we had to fight to repeal law that by law was making Kenya a one-party state. That's why we ingrained that provision in the Constitution. So it has its historical aspect and why we are reacting, what we were reacting to. But again, the issue of coalitions in Kenya has been effective over time now. We have an experience on what coalition. But the presupposition in law is that there'll be the harmonious existence of government, the state, and the political party that sponsors government. So there is the Puritan approach where a single party sponsors the government, and therefore the government runs as a party. Then there is the coalition of political parties that forms government. It has two aspects. There is the pre-election and post-election. The aspect there that political parties can come together and form a coalition that would be a winning ticket. Azimio, those are put together under an umbrella that is codenamed in the manner of Kenya Kwanza and Azimio and so on. Those were pre-election agreements.
Yes.
Post-election agreements is after elections, and you realize that you are meant to include some political parties into your government. You can only do so under the law, and therefore you have to form post. This is one of them. The post-election agreements co-opting into government.
Of which the president said that they don't have any.
This is where the advisors ought to have advised the president that he needs to formally endorse a formal agreement with the political parties that is co-opting for purposes of those political party appointees. And I will tell you this because I'm sure it will get into court. I'm very sure about it because of what I know is being preferred to the court. The question before the court is whether the president has liberty under the Constitution to appoint whoever it is in different political parties other than the one that sponsored him into government. He doesn't because the law prohibits the tapping of members of other political parties. Resign and formally come into the fold of your party, the ruling party, therefore, for purposes of getting into government. If not, especially if they come in circumstances of negotiating political party to get into government, the presupposition read with Article 4 as you have prompted will be that there will be an agreement that is registered with the political.
There is no agreement.
We don't know.
Okay.
We don't know.
No, he said.
We don't know. No. But what is said, I have acted for political parties. I have. And I can tell you, a person can say in part. And I had Raila Odinga said those people have joined in their own accord and not sponsored and blessed by ODM. I don't think it's right. But you say it to address a certain disaffection in the public. But in a sense, you must comply with the law. Remember, law comes first before politics.
Yes.
So you ought to then deposit political parties a coalition agreement on agreement with the other political parties that then under the political parties act read with Article 4 in terms of the distinction between political parties to sustain the multi-party democracy.
And this question goes to all of you. Seeing is, do you think, coming to you, John, Do you think the appointment was solely based on the prerequisite and perhaps the competencies that somebody would want to form a coalition, and not we've seen in the country the past few weeks, that picking Mbadi, picking the four gentlemen into the government was based on the prerequisite and competencies, but not taking advantage and timing because the innuendos that we've seen?
Yeah, Victor, what's government? How do you in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's the political parties that forms government, isn't it? What Wakili is saying, it is true, there are pre-election and post-elections coalitions.
Right.
But I believe, to me, I think the way I see is government is for the people of Kenya. And therefore, any Kenyan can serve Kenyans at any capacity, especially. So, and there was a precedent that was set by Mheshimiwa, the former president, the immediate former. When he appointed, you remember, he appointed some time back, the late Ngaiseri for Interior, Dan Kasungu, somewhere, was it East Africa, somewhere there? And it was as ODM because we were not consulted in the first place. It was like raiding our party by picking and taking our soldiers. And by that time, the courts did not help us. So we are waiting to see how our courts are going to contradict themselves on this view now.
So this is a norm. Any winning party and picking members of the losing party into the government.
It is for the stability of our country.
What do you mean stability? As a president, you have your number one priority is to stabilize the country in whichever means.
Whichever means, but you see how those elections are always won. General election in Kenya is always won in a very controversial way. And then you say somebody with almost 49-point-something% gets to the cold, disappears with all these memorandums, or he disappears to the thin air, but he has governors down there. He has governors, members of parliament, good policies in governance. So you see, that one creates a big gap in terms of national. So now, because you have the president, maybe you only control some regions of the country.
Yeah.
So Wakili was saying legitimacy and legality. You'll have the legality, but you don't have the legitimacy.
All right.
So to me, now, when the president now said the GNC has given me a room or a chance to transform the country.
So he said this was a blessing in disguise.
Yes.
All right. I don't know. Because the question, you'll also answer this, Wakili. Mark, so was it mixed on prerequisite in terms of competencies or a reward? Because the gap between the president and Azimio leader was 200 and something 80,000. So was it time of when the president said, so point of I was just waiting for an opportunity when the iron is hot, you strike it? Right.
I think it was a blessing in disguise because getting it from here is confessed to us that the president has been looking for the ODM party leader, and that can be true given the circumstances that followed after the party leader showed some interest for the AU job. So I think this was a blessing to the president because he was only waiting for the opportune time so that he can engage them. And given the happenings of the Gen Zs, I think he took the opportunity and he against the Azimio, as it were, and other party leaders of white DAP and the Jubilee. They objected to the offer, but ODM saw it wise to give out their members, which it was a plus because it's going to give him some political stability. And as to whether he's going to silence the Gen Zs, I think I would say no, because as they have said, they are not, they are leaderless, they are formless, they are faceless, and they have indicated that they have never sent any with the president. So I think in terms of the political stability, the country is going to get some political stability given the following ODM has. But we are still back to the same problem, the same issues. I think the president had a chance to reform the way things are done in Kenya. But I think for me it's a wasted opportunity. One, you find even the government, the formation of the government does not give us the face of Kenya because we only have some, we had two communities.
What did you expect? The face of Kenya? I would have expected the president to go further and follow the constitution, because the constitution is very clear on when you are forming the government. I don't think the constitution the leeway to only appoint people from the regions that voted for him. Once you become a president, you become a president for the country, and the best you can have a cabinet which has the face of our country. And some previous presidents have tried, even during Moi time. Moi used to have a lot of opposition, but we could see he tried to cabinet where every region was included. So the president should have gone to regions, the 8 regions. He could have picked one or two, and that would have given the cabinet some face of the country, as opposed to going to the political parties. Did he wait for that opportunity?
Well,
when he said it was a blessing in disguise.
I don't think so, personally. I think the facts were very clear, and therefore options were narrowed, slightly narrowed. The president, let me first start with opposition. I have always suspected, and I think that has now been confirmed, that Raila Odinga derives some economics out of politics. Meaning, therefore, there is some economy of sorts in politics, as appears in Kenya. You, for certain benefits, include the economic benefits into it. This may not be agreed with his supporters or whoever it is, but I want to put it this way. The experience personally I have is that politics has an economic environment into it, including what has happened, because it's supposed to, including leadership too. They're not going there for free. Definitely the associated benefits into the inclusion into government. But Raila Odinga has this one dominant character when you compete with him for presidency, he ought to win, but he's been constantly losing. When he loses, somehow, somewhat, there will be is co-opted into cooperation with the government by whatever form that it takes, whether nusumkate, whether it is handshake, and whatever manner that mutates into a cooperation of sorts with the government. And therefore, as you have to talk to him in order to have a smooth sailing in terms of your leadership of the country. And therefore, that I think is commendable in terms of our opposition who seeks to be in government, because you lose, but you find your in politics, you always find your way into government. Let me put it this way again, just so that I crystallize my argument on that issue. The president knew, and other presidents have also known, out of experience, that if you don't take care of Raila Odinga and his don't have the space to exert your dominion over the people of Kenya. The dominion being that he has his own dominion that he has to bring into the fold. Now that is what then brings the adulteration of Puritan politics and government, the party that rules in government. Yes. And therefore that fusion...
John is not liking that argument.
And that fusion compromises what then Article 4 would portend in the circumstances. But I must put it this way, that the approach here is disguised as stabilizing the country. What was the instability of the country? The Jesus protesting, because the voice of protest was supposed to be beholden in the opposition, who were not doing what needed to be done. Why then was the opposition not doing what is supposed to be done? Because they are saying government is full of us. It is not true.
Whichever way you want to answer it, do you think Gen Z's agitation and their points of concern have been addressed?
No, they haven't.
Thank you. Is opposition dead?
No,
when you pick Joho, Oparanya, two deputy party leaders, you pick Mbadi, who is a member of PAC in parliament, and Opiyo Wandayi, minority leader in the National Assembly. So what will happen to these positions? Now, will John Mbadi relinquish his position as a nominated member of parliament? Wakili, will he?
He has to.
What about Opiyo Wandayi? He will have to resign from...
The principle of separation of powers, he has to.
Yes.
You can't have both.
Okay.
And in fact, it is illegal to...
We have a by-election in Ogunja constituency.
Yes.
Okay.
So which is, again, expensive. I mean, it's very expensive.
Look at that. We have... Is opposition dead, John?
I think Wakili he wanted to make a point, but there was somewhere he veered off the road by branding my party leaders as an opportunist in politics, economically. You know, the drafters of our constitution, and you bear me witness, never even created opposition, isn't it, in parliament? Do we have an opposition in parliament? The current constitution.
No, we don't have...
we have a minority.
We don't have an opposition created, but we have the position that is supposed to represent...
that's why I was saying our drafters never envisage an opposition in parliament. They created minority and they never even created... parliament was just to play an oversight role, not actually to be at the haste of the presidency. But Kenya being Kenyan, we made it politics to take a center stage in our governance, and therefore to assert his powers through all the organs of government. So what we are trying to, what I'm putting straight is that one, we are going to have opposition. We are going to play, as ODM will play our role.
Even in government?
Yes, but our role is going to be now positive criticism. We are going to give guidance to
the government.
To the government.
Okay.
And the issues, they say that we were silent. We were silenced by bullet. You know.
Who?
Yeah, opposition. You know, last year we had serious protests.
Yes.
Just like what the But what happened?
Is opposition affiliated by any way to the Gen Z's movement?
No, the Gen Z's just picked from where we left.
So there's a correlation between Gen Z's movement and what happened in Azimio last year?
No. It's the challenges that Kenya is facing.
Okay.
They just picked our issues. You remember we had sufurias in our heads, symbolizing the cost of living. That was the key issues. And let me now tell you.
In 20 seconds, I'm running out of time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Within a short time now, those issues, seriously.
Okay.
The cost of living.
Cost of living and issues of unemployment.
Okay. Cost of living. So for real. Okay. All right. Yes. Mark, tumalizie.
I think to move forward, we need to be honest in our discussions, and we need to be honest in leadership. We need to do away with this hypocrisy of doublespeak, where you are following this route, tomorrow you say you are following another route. And this has been shown, and we've witnessed with the ODM nominees. I'm waiting to see how Mbadi is and is going to give us that budget which he opposed some months back.
Yes.
So I think the country, as a country, we are still far from good leadership. We are far in terms of democracy, because you find a situation where the government of the day raids the opposition. So my kind of request is for the leaders of this country to at least have a honest conversation where we can transform our country and where we can live as brothers and sisters.
Very well.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, time by 2 minutes.
Let me just put it this way.
Yes, we are done.
Probably we should look at it this way. Anytime Kenya has a challenge, and we've had many challenges before, and pick themselves up as a unit. So it is good that the opposition and the government are talking, because to increase the political decibels raised by Gen Zs where they had reached was definitely not the right way for this country.
Yeah.
So let's also put it this way, that what is positive must be called as positive. It is good that we talk, and one of it is also to be seen to include each other. But I think it was the first aid. It was never the solution. Those that now will join government, or the government of the day, as probably will be constituted later subject to parliament, must look at it, the people of Kenya, towards addressing the issues. That would be okay. Any day Kenya has a problem, whatever problem we face, we always coalesce and come together. And this is one way of looking at it. Definitely there are many ways of analyzing. Strictly speak as Kenyans and say the opposition needed to come with government so that we find solutions for Kenyans. If we'll find the solutions, then that's a good thing. But if it was meant to address opportunism in politics, I think that's really
interesting times
for the
ahead,
country.
politically speaking. Gentlemen, thank you so much. George Keith, advocate of the High Court. I also have John Ketora, ODM Youth League President, as well as Mark Ndingo, governance expert and political analyst. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming to the show. And of course, let me stop it at that particular point. In aviation, they say that takeoff is optional, but landing is mandatory. You know what? Whatever you want to do, do it right now, because tomorrow might never even come. My name
Wagwan, me brethren, big things are going. Remember, each and every Monday we have to shell down the place with nothing but the best of smooth way the vibes in your favorite station. You know these things, man.
Alafu kila Tuesday, kata simu tupo side, giving you Kenyan music from the 254.
And of course, you can spice up your Wednesday by enjoying blazing hot hip-hop and R&B jams.
She says she want bottles. Vibes and vibes as we go all across Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, all the way to Tanzania to give you nothing but the best on Afro Thursday. Make sure you make a date with us each DJ_Liza Diva,
DJ Cold,
and me, Wanjiko. This is Club One Extra.
John Musembi Kallog was born in 1931 in a village, Kasinga, in what was Iveti South constituency of Machakos district. He went to Kasinga and Ngelani primary schools and later joined Kaba before proceeding to India for a degree in business administration. Upon returning to Kenya, he joined the provincial administration in the office of the president and served as a district officer, promoted to district commissioner, working in several districts across the country. Kallog then left provincial administration upon appointment as a director in the department. Kallog reached his pinnacle in the civil service in 1970 when he was appointed as permanent secretary in the Ministry of Health. Barely 4 years later, Kallog quit the civil service and failed to wrestle the Iveti North parliamentary seat from Aaron Mutunga. His bid for the seat in the subsequent 1979 general election and in the 1980 flopped too. Kallog's third stab at a parliamentary seat finally bore fruit in the 1988 general election, where he clinched the newly created Machakos town constituency and retained 2 polls. He was then appointed Minister for Health, and during the 3 years he held that portfolio, he hosted President Moi at several fundraisers in aid of in Machakos town constituency, signaling their close ties. As health minister, Kallog is credited with expanding hospitals and establishing new ones across the country. He was, however, in the infamous Makueni-Mukurweini mix-up, where he allegedly tricked out Mukurweini in Nyeri district of a multi-million shilling hospital up in Makueni in his native Machakos district. 3 years into his appointment as Minister for Health, however, Kallog lost his voice and was diagnosed with throat cancer, death in 1995. Jackie Wambiru, The Cabinet. Jackie Wambiru, The Cabinet.
Indeed, you're watching Good Morning Kenya. And now let's shift gears and talk about transformative leadership. Because on a topic that is of big interest, we are talking about the opportunities for political parties reforms. And this focus will be focusing on strategies to enhance the political participation representation of special interest groups. And to help me in this conversation in studio, I'm joined by Davis bin Oluoch, who is a ODM Youth League. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
How are you doing this today?
I'm doing well.
Yes.
How are you?
Glad that you are here to have this conversation.
Thank you.
Now let's get into it. How do you rate the political participation and electoral representation groups within the political parties in the country?
Thank you so much, Migwi. Migwi.
Yes.
First, I really want to introduce myself well.
Yes.
I'm Davis bin Oluoch.
Yes.
I was born in Africa,
yes.
Kenya, Nyakach constituency. I'm here to represent the ODM party,
yes,
as the biggest party in Kenya, in Africa.
Yeah.
We are soon getting into Asia. What you've asked is about representation, and I think our political parties are really trying. There's inclusion, but where I find the fault is on decision making. That you will find a youth leader, a PWD leader on a table, but their decisions are not really taken into consideration. That's where I really think we should put more focus on. But on representation, like in my political party, or at the topmost decision-making table is called the Central Committee, and there's a youth leader there. Fortunately, my youth president was, I've just left here,
yes,
it's called John Maketora,
yes,
a good gentleman from Kajiado. He's actually the one who... At the NEC, there's a youth leader. At the NGC, there are youth leaders. At the Delegates Conference, there are youth leaders. But it's only that their voices are still not being heard. Even today, we are saying that even if the party or individuals to the government, we didn't see a young person, we didn't see a PWD, we didn't see a woman. So I think the parties should do a lot more on youth voices. Yes.
What do you think would be the best approach for the parties to use in order to make sure that these voices count?
I think we need to have a policy. The political parties need to have internal policies. And these policies need to be streamlined. The PWD should have their own policy. The Youth League should have a policy. The Women League should have their own policies. On decision making, what is the point of the youth? Or what is the voice of the youth? On this, where does the youth stand? On this, where does the women come? A streamlined policy on election, on nomination, on appointments. How much, what is the percentage of the youth? What is the percentage of the women? What is the percentage of PWD? It should be internal in the political parties. If a political party does not obey such rules, the leagues can take them to court or into the tribunals. Yes.
Yeah. Now, still on that aspect, when it comes to women, how does increasing women participation in political parties enhance electoral processes within the country?
First, I want to say this, that I'm an ardent supporter of women. I've Amanda, I've seen the great works of Margaret Thatcher, of Ellen Sirleaf Johnson, of Wangari Maathai, of Martha Karua, of Millie Odhiambo. And I want to say that women in their nature are good people and they are multitaskers.
Yes.
And the Gen Zs have been talking about bad governance. And most of these people have been men in governance.
Yeah.
So I think it's time we give women a chance. So I think, first, women have been sidelined in politics for too long, going way back. And do you know what happened way back? There was education. So what they were doing is that they were using political force. They were using the physical force, so that the person who has the biggest force will rule.
Yes.
So at this time, as we advanced, now we have education, we have technology, and we have seen of doing any other thing that men can do. So first of all, I think women are bringing into our political parties the multitasking. They are bringing the care, and they are bringing good governance. The natural talents that God given them into our leadership, our countries will be better, our political parties will be better, our continent is going to be better, and our world definitely is going to be better. Yes.
Now, interest groups and their inclusion in these political and electoral processes, what does that change the perspective of the party towards their supporters or the masses?
I want to say this.
Yes.
On this, the special interest groups.
Yes. Anyone that fits you.
I want to say that women are, I think, 50%, if not 60. So that if women are there, there's some instinct. I think I've seen it in the recent, the past few weeks, that today I'm in the ODM party. But if the ODM party is someone tries to intimidate the ODM party, I feel bad. If someone tries, I don't look Gen Z, but I'm still a Gen Z. It's on the economy. Yes. But then, women are 50%. If they see someone there who is their and if they don't see someone who is a woman, they also feel bad. So I think when political parties embrace women, more women tend to lean on a political party that favors women. And I want to say that ODM party really favors disappointment. We still don't have clear communication on what happened, but ODM party really favors women. I've been in the party, not for so long, but for 3 years, and I've seen matters that a party is sending you to Mombasa, 4 people. When I was last sent by the party, I think, to the coast region, we were only 4, and there were 2 women and 2 gentlemen. So I think women are introduced into our political parties. There's an appeal, the feminine appeal towards that political party, and it's upon all our political parties to embrace women. That is the same thing to the youth. Today, youth, I think, are 75%. So if a political party, well, youth tend to lean towards that political party. The same to PWD. If a political party treats its PWD well, PWD tends to lean towards that political party. I think the Orange Democratic Party that I represent here, I'm not the spokesperson, but I just represent, really has tried. And even in the last, I think, NGC meetings, national, that happened, I think, if not 1 month, it's 2 months ago. The president of the PWD League was introduced into the Central Management Committee, the topmost organ. So currently, of a PWD League president in the Central Management Committee, there's a representation of the Youth League president in the Central Management Committee. There's a representation of the Women League president, who is currently a senator, Senator Beth Siengo. And I think that's why our political party, since 2005, has been vibrant, because it has been considerate of all the SIGs, the special interest groups. Yes.
Now, speaking from a general perspective of the political party, does this, or including the interests of these groups, help political parties in general in diversifying their financial resources? Especially from entities that support issues like gender parity, inclusion of women in leadership. Does that affect, or does that influence political parties in diversifying their financial sources?
I want to say this, and political parties that are vibrant on issues, special interest groups, first receive more funding from the political parties' funds. If you have very many elected leaders, youth leaders, or PWD, that political party receive more funding from the political party's fund. That's from the government. Now I want to bring it to other organizations. And I want to say that there are several that bring in funds to the political parties if they are very keen on the SIGs issues. And political parties should embrace this. And I don't want to count organizations on this platform, but but there are very many organizations, and that's what at the time activities the Youth League does is not funded by the party. They're funded by organizations that are very keen on youth issues. Most of the activities of the Women League are not funded by the party because sometimes the party doesn't have funds. Sometimes the government. So these organizations come in if the party is so vibrant on women issues. These organizations come in when the party when the party is vibrant on PWD issues. So I have to parties or the political party leadership should admit that the inclusion of SIGs in their leadership and in their strategic plans and in their future plans and is good for respective political parties. Yes.
What is the place of mentorship in all this? Because we are talking about inclusion as part of the reforms for political parties. What is the role of mentorship in all this?
I want to say this, and maybe we are now drawing away from this whole conversation of Gen Z. We are trying to forge ahead. But one of the issues raised is on mentorship. And I want to tell you that I graduated from university in the year 2020, and I joined the party in 2021. Actually thought that politics, it hasn't been easy. And one needs real mentorship on myriad of issues, very many issues, on financing, on how the intrigues of these external politics, of how you fight with your opponents and fairly, not fight literally, and there are intrigues of internal politics, on how you maneuver, on internal leadership and blah, blah, blah. There are issues on media, and once again I want to say that ODM is trying. Today I'm here courtesy of the Orange Party. So what you asked is that I want to say that on SIGs, women have their own issues, and they may need women who have advanced in politics to mentor them. Youth have their own issues, and we may need ahead of us. For example, Honorable Babu Oweno or Honorable Eddie Gisheru or Amina Mnyazi from the Coast region to mentor the youth that if you're a young person, do blah, blah, blah. Women have their own issues. Maybe, for example, cultural barriers, there are issues of finances, there are issues of sexual. Woman is in politics, she's there courtesy of someone who's slept with her, and sometimes it causes trauma. And they need to sit down with women who have done these things so that they can tell them that if this comes, do this. And I have a friend who I think was in a workshop called Future Elect, where women sit down with other women, and I think in their last seminar there was Joaquin Dungu, who has been a judiciary, and she has been a member of parliament, and she was speaking to them, and she said that was one of the best things that he saw. And mentorship, our political party sometimes has taken us to personally, I've been taken to the ESC seen what happens in EALA, what happens in the East African judiciary, what happens in their legislature and how they do their things. And that's why sometimes I can maneuver. And even if issues come, I can rise up. So I think mentorship, we really need mentorship. For example, from people who have gone ahead. Yes.
So in a way, mentorship does change the perspectives of, let's say, for instance, especially who are going to get into politics, let's say in 2027 or now.
You know, in I think 2 weeks ago, or a month, I had a party on you know, Baba has become big, and we might need an academy for Baba. Let's say Raila Odinga Leadership Academy. And I think these academies, I think if I had your questions correctly, or this mentorship, give us even perspectives that we never had. You know, sometimes you are thinking within the box. And when someone who is ahead of you tells you something, you now tend to think outside the box. That, oh, kumbe it needs to be like this. Sometimes something you are really so sure that it should be happening like this, but then when that leader comes who has gone ahead, you find a new. I agree with you that there are new perspectives that come in with mentorship. Yes.
There's also the priorities of various political parties based on their ideologies, but I would want you to talk about the importance of prioritizing women and their priorities in upholding constitutional mandates and fundamental rights.
Pardon?
The importance of prioritizing the rights of the aspects of special interest groups in political parties.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think about our appeal. The youth are very many. The women are many. PW are a good number. We've talked about that. We've talked about the expertise we bring, the technology. But even if all this, let me be serious when I'm saying this, even if all these are not there, the Constitution requires that they, I think I haven't studied law, but I think it's some chapters 27, or is it Article 27, or I think something of the sort, that we should not be discriminated according to your gender, your age, or your religion, or your race, physical appearance. So I think it is our constitutional right to be included. If I love the policies of the Orange Democratic Movement Party, I merit to be in a leadership position, I should be given. If Honorable John Mark Ketora, who was here, today Honorable John Badi is going to we as the Orange Democratic Movement Party Youth League, we are actually demanding that the ODM Youth League president should be given that position, because the Youth League has never been rewarded in the political party. So I think it's the Constitution that we should be given the rights.
But should the youth be rewarded or be given a chance based on merits?
I want to say this. We are not shortage of youth who merit these positions, especially in my political party. There are very many. Very many. You know, let me tell you, if I tell you my position in the Youth League, it's a very, very people on top. But I can articulate the party policies and the party ideologies and the party stand. So, meaning that we are not short of youth who merit this position. If we merit, give us. I don't think there's any way you can find that there's a position that we want to be given and there's no one who can merit it. We are not in shortage of youth who on anything, on policy, even on architecture, anything in this country. Yeah.
Let's talk about, going by the events that have happened in the last few weeks within the country.
Yes.
I think the parties are ready to include the youths at all levels of decision-making process.
I won't talk about the parties. I think I want to talk about my political party.
I would want you to talk from a general perspective.
A general perspective.
Yes, we are talking about all political parties, not ODM only.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can talk on a general perspective because all the political parties.
Of course.
Yes. And the political parties are willing, not even because of the issues that happened. They're willing because they have youth leagues, they have had women leagues, they're willing because they have had PWD leagues. So I think we have to admit that the political parties are really willing. What I can just add, what the political party leadership can do is to give the youth something tangible. Youth is sitting somewhere. Today, I think I saw President appointing a 32-year-old to the cabinet. Let him have a voice. What he's saying is contributing. You know, they tell us, oh, you are young. You don't know. What you're saying, no. So I think our decisions should be taken into consideration as the young people. So I think the political parties are willing. And numbers. And the Gen Z have proved they have numbers. So I think the political parties going forward are going to be very keen on the generation and the youth.
So there is that aspect of making appeal for political parties that involve all demographics.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. Politics is a game of numbers. Let me go back to politics. It's a game of numbers. And we'll go where the numbers are. If the youth have the numbers, they will go there. If the women have the numbers, they will go there. And it is not as if they have not been going there. You see, what we are saying as the young, you are coming to us during the elections, and we give you votes. During the decision-making process, or when people are now on the table, bring also a substantial number of young people. Yes. The youth currently must be incorporated in political parties, and they must also come to the political parties. Yes.
Since you are in the youth league, what can you say the youth leagues within politics in the impact?
There's been substantial impact. I can't lie, because I can say that, like in my political party, but I can say that the youth leagues have sent a very good number of representatives to the parliament as nominees, to the county assemblies, to the Senate. I want to tell you that in the run-up to 2022 elections, there were aspirants' manuals. I think if Amira could have been here, she could have had a young aspirants' manual, and the ODM also developed a young aspirants' manual, which used to train young people on elections. These things I was telling you on media, on communication. And actually, with the president and the director of the youth affairs to train young aspirants. We went to Kisumu, we went to Mombasa, we were here in Nairobi, and I can tell you there are people or young using the manual who are currently in the parliament, who are currently in the county assemblies, and some didn't make it, but some were nominated. So I think the youth leagues have also been doing these capacity buildings, sending young people to workshops locally, and And that has given a lot of young people the exposure. And very many young people are now very ready to face 2027 because of the youth leagues. And I really want to admit that there are organizations who've assisted us to do what? To go up for this mentorship and to build the youth leagues. For example, I think there was an INI here at the University of Nairobi, a People's Dialogue organized by the Center for Multi-Party Democracy. It actually helped a lot of young people. I was actually in the booths of the ODM party, and you could see high school students coming to our booth. What they really want our political party work, the ideology. Some were asking me that Baba is going to AU. Who are you? By that time, the AU thing was the thing.
Yeah.
So they were asking me what's going to happen now. Baba is going to AU. I told them no. In the political party, that there are very many people there. If you look down to the Nyanza region, there's Simbarat. You go south, you go to the beaches of Mombasa, you'll find Hassan Joho. Go there, you'll find Olekina. And Babu Owino is still there. We see North County, Davis Binoloj. So there are very many people. So what I was saying is that the youth leagues have really tried to their capacity, but it is not to our expectations.
Yes. I'm told we are out of time. Opportunity to thank you so much for making time for us. That is Davis Oluoch, who is from the ODM Youth League, speaking to us about the opportunities within political parties and especially strategies to enhance the political participation in electoral processes for special interest groups. This is where we cap this conversation here. My name is Mike. Maybe don't go too far. Good Morning Kenya continues shortly.
Unajua, token mita yako inahitaji system update. Ni rahisi na ni free. Ujumbe kutoka Kenya Power, yani SMS. Weka kodi ya kwanza kureset, alafu weke kodi ya pili kuupdate. Update token mita yako. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na Kenya Power and Lighting Company.
Us on healthy living. Stay connected to Voice of America at voanews.com. A look at your kidneys and how they impact your health. And an expert discusses chronic kidney disease and how to protect yourself. And Ivorian psychologist Noor Bakayoko shares and what can be done.
It's important to avoid major events or major health crises.
How do you know if your cough is due to a serious condition? We'll have some answers.
Strive to make every day a healthy day.
Technology is part of our society. Without technological advancements, so much of our everyday lives would be drastically different. As technology develops, it strives to fulfill the changing needs of society. This means that technology exists, the things that we wouldn't be able to achieve without it. Take on Tech looks at the advantage of technological innovation in a world that is becoming increasingly dependent on new digital technologies. Every Monday at 10:30 p.m.
Kawethe, Kangundo district in what is now Machakos County, in 1941, Ngutu went to the local Kawethe district education his primary and secondary education. From an early age, Ngutu had a strong desire to serve in the disciplined and uniformed forces. He was recruited in 1966 and went to Kiganja Police Training College in Nyeri. He worked at various stations across the country and rose through the ranks to the position of Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge. Joseph Kimeu Ngutu was a police officer turned politician and had to fit in the shoes of mercurial politician and freedom fighter Paul Joseph Ngei. Of Ngei's fall from power when he was finally forced to resign from his cabinet post and relinquish his Kangundo parliamentary seat in 1991, bankrupt by the High Court of Kenya. As soon as Ngei was declared bankrupt, Ngutu declared his interest in contesting the seat once it was declared. He had retired as Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of Nyeri-based Kiganja Police Training College. He contested the seat in the subsequent by-election and won, becoming the second occupant of independence. He was appointed Minister for Labour, a position he held for about a year and a half until 1992 multi-party elections, in which he lost political greenhorn Joseph Wambua Mulusia, who ran on a Democratic Party ticket. The party was led by Mwai Kibaki. 5 years later, comeback. In the 1997 elections, he managed to win back the Kangundo seat. Ngutu once again became Minister for Labour, where he stayed for the next 5 years to general election in which he lost his seat. Some of the projects credited to Ngutu included the construction of health centres, Kawethe secondary school, processing factories. He also encouraged farmers in agriculture potential areas to start coffee plantations. Ngutu worked as minister for just about a year before the 2000 when he lost his seat to Moffat Maitha, who contested via the little-known Sisi Kwa Sisi party. Jackie Wimbiru, The Cabinet.
You are right in time for our Family Check segment, and today our topic is on anger and bitterness, and we're going to be looking at ways in which you can be able to overcome your anger. And joining me for that is one Pastor Justice Kimeu. He is the senior pastor, JCC Gateway. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Vivian, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Now, is there a difference between and how do you define that two terms?
Well, you would define anger as antagonistic emotions that are projected against a perceived offender. But when you talk about bitterness, seated anger or displeasure, sour, deep-seated anger or displeasure. And that is how I would perceive the two. Anger is the reaction, emotions of displeasure, disappointment, and all that, which can easily be provoked and would project in anger. Correct.
Okay, okay. So now we are at least that we're dealing with today. So how does one monitor their triggers? You know, and what exactly are some triggers to anger?
Monitoring the triggers of anger, one, because majority of the people that are angry feel justified to be angry. To get them to the point of accepting and appreciating that they have negative emotions is quite. And so the very nature of the person that they are in denial about their negative emotions, about their pain, about their anger, becomes a challenge of them even to deal with the anger itself. And the point of awareness that I have a challenge of anger, I am bitter with life, then for them to be able to get onto a journey of recovering from the negative emotion. That is why in modern science they are talking about emotional intelligence. Is somebody able to be able to get aware? Number one, aware of themselves, aware of their emotions. Challenge them. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses within my own emotions? If that will be able to happen with the people that are emotionally challenged, then it becomes easy for them to be able to work on their emotions. When you talk about I'm conscious that I'm bitter, I've been offended in life, I've been disappointed, I have displeasure towards either my parents or my friends or the work environment or the society that I live in. Then whether you can be able to consciously regulate yourself. How much am I able to know I react like this, and I'm able to work on myself to be able to work on that. Again, of my own abilities to challenge myself to live against the things that are challenging my own abilities, my own competencies, my own relationships and all that. And then to understand other people. How am I able to relate with their offenses? Because what they do aggrieves me. What they do annoys me. What they do offends me. And the ability, the social skills to interact with the environment that I am in a positive way. Abilities to be able to cope with what is happening around me and how I now, responding is different from reacting. Anger would react, and somebody who is cognizant of what they want to do, they will be able to respond than react to a situation. Yep.
So you work towards
situations,
not
rather
reacting.
than reacting to the situation.
So when you're responding, how are you going about that?
In responding, number one, you are in charge of your emotions. You have already become conscious of you monitor your own self, and then you choose how to respond. When people are dealing with these conditions, for example, in marriage, they'll tell you when you are angry, don't speak. Give it time so that when your emotions are down, you are able. When you do that, you are able also to know, might you have been the one causing the problem? Might you have been the one contributing to the crisis, to the conflict, to the differences, to the misunderstandings? Because the big issue is not even the offense. The big issue might be just a misunderstanding. And if that then happens, you become responsible with your emotions. You are able to relate with the situation. Now, this is not easy, let's say so, because unless your own emotions, you will not be able to relate. A good, great example is the person of Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was jailed by the apartheid system in South Africa, and for a whopping 27 years. If you are jailed for 3 years, 1 year, you may lose your entire emotional system to life and fate. But this man, after 27 years, he comes out of prison, emotions. They say when he left, he said, I knew if I leave the prison with my bitterness, I'll forever remain in the prison of my own emotions. Indeed, it is said, he sought to have an audience while leaving prison to appreciate them for taking care of him all that ages. Now, that is a very different response to unfairness, to mistreatment. Well, and that would tell you how people would respond. In other cases, people are not able to manage. When you look at reactions of societies, you look at people that have been wounded, and sometimes their behavior is their pain. Talk about the black community, for example, in America. When you look at their dressing, when you look at their singing, you think it is excitement in music. It is not excitement in music. They are still in the hangovers of, you know, unfair. They want to dress elaborate and big. You listen to those South Africans sing. They sing so loud, clear, beautiful. They are still singing apartheid songs. They might even be, they sound so, but it is a reaction already still to sitting pain, to sitting rejection, to hostilities and all that. So the question of how one would manage is, have you matured your emotions? Have you been able to relate with your situation?
To get onto that, like maturing your emotions, how does one go about maturing their emotions?
It's a difficult process. Allow me give my own example.
All right.
A peasantry family and went through tough challenges as a young person. I remember when I was going to Form 1, I was walking 20 kilometers to school and 10 back. That is 20. If we do cross country, I've done. And growing up that time, I got to a point where I felt disadvantaged. I had a very brilliant brother who went to Machako school. I had a very brilliant sister who went to Kangaroo school. And I went to the nearest government school to my home. So disappointed with life and with the way things would work. And I got bitter to a point of getting to ulcers. And I went through that for quite a while. And then I was determined to join A-levels, and I didn't have fees. So I stayed for 2 terms without joining Form 5. I was in the last class in that old system. And finally I had to leave my job. I was working somewhere and they joined. Now, who was hosting me by that time. But I plowed through. I qualified, went to the university, but by the time I'm arriving at the university, I'm already depressed, distressed. I mean, I'm out of my emotions. Much later, I realized I'm living in the pain of my own ambitions. And I remember I went back to my sister and I told her, you know what, I have forgiven you. That was the last point for me struggling with negativity. It is quite many years. And I am so confident about myself and the things that happen that I can survive any challenge of anybody. We met with my sister the other day. How she was protecting the family from the aggravations of poverty and all that. Me, I was pursuing what was my ambition and the passion. So we only had a misunderstanding on collective good interest. And so I chose to be better than being bitter. I would still be justified to be bitter. The things I went through, the things that were not done to me. But the question is, what can I do out of the situation? And I think I survived by putting ambition out of the situation and out of the circumstances. And so it's a question of one mastering the emotions. Today I can dare anybody doing anything and I'll be focused and able to keep myself on the focus of what it is that I want to pursue and that I want to achieve. That takes a cognizant determination by somebody in doing what they want to do. Some think it is a very strong point for anyone wanting to talk to themselves. When somebody said, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. How much am I comfortable with my situation and with my passion towards where I'm going, and give me courage to change the things that I can, and to the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah.
If everybody would be able to speak to themselves to such a degree, then everybody will be destiny. But we cannot also ignore the aggravations of the society, the things that are affecting people to the point of being angry. What are these things? We have one, dysfunction of families. A child will not be able to know through pain, where they are going through rejection, where their mother is not living well, why their mother cries. Now, this is a child of a single mother. The single mother is single because she suffered a dysfunction. Or look at the chain of things that we are talking about. We have the problem of frustrated expectations. We are right now grappling with the challenge of the GNCs and their demands to the society that we need fairness. We have threatening relationships, esteem, belonging, perceived entitlement. And the social distress is the larger picture of the things that people. It's me and you as brother and sister. I feel you are fairly treated by my mother. I feel you look like you are superior to me because you have a job I don't have. All these are things that are the kind of anger, the kind of bitterness that people would demonstrate in family, in the working place. People having conflict at the working place, at the social place. It is a question of feeling I'm not advantaged, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. And we need to be careful to relate with those people. For example, when we are talking about frustrated expectations, I have done my degree course, I am jobless. Then what is the whole end of this? I went through pain, I paid a price, I was promised a bright future, and things are not adding up. Yet the society looks like it is endured. I see people driving big cars. They seem to have, and in the public space, what is my fate? That informs the agitation that we are seeing in the community with the young people and all that. And it can never be assumed or ignored. In due course, it will implode. It will implode.
Yeah, for sure.
Once it implodes, we have all this in our hands, things to manage, damage to manage, a society to cope with. That is a challenge from various matches. Everybody wants to be critical about the Gen Z. We have all had seasons of generations. In the 70s, young men came up with big trousers and the platform shoes, and the old men of that time were like, where are we going with these young men? They had afro hair, bigger than the one for ladies of that time. Today, those are the grandfathers. Today, they are the grandfathers. In the 90s, we had the movement from the universities, people clamoring for democracy and fighting for the democratic space. The Orengos of today, who are the governors, who are the champions of the young men of that time. And so, the Gen Zs are going to be leaders in 10 years from now.
Yeah.
There will be the women reps, there will be the governors, there will be the wherever, whether we like it or not. We have to pay attention to the demands they are posting, to the challenges, get to the table and think, and align our thinking with what it is that is happening, and be able to see how do we get things work. A challenge on our hands.
Yeah, and as you've said, it's not something new, it's something that has been there over the years. Every generation kind of experiences that. So maybe what are the best express anger? Because we are all allowed to get angry. It's inevitable. We get angry at one point or the other in life over unexpected, maybe expectations that you unfulfilled expectations maybe that you had, and so what's the best way to go about anger, whereby you need to express it, but you also want to put a limit to how you allow it to consume you?
I will wax biblical in that context. The Bible says, be angry. So how much would you be conscious about your anger and your action out of your anger? Be angry, do not sin. The Bible says, be angry, but don't allow the sun to set. You are still angry. So look at the parameters. And we can never do away with the anger, by the way. Somebody said anger is a positive emotion if it used correctly. Largely, we can't rule out anger from our emotions.
No, it's impossible.
There is somebody who will use anger positively. Akasirika aseme sitakufa maskini. And out of their anger, they have hurt. They were mistreated by a neighbor who was probably well-to-do. And they said, I'm going to. I remember the story of the late Mutula. He said because the father was disenfranchised, he decided to be a lawyer to defend. You get?
Yeah.
So anger can be used positively if one has a sober, intentional mind towards what is it that they want to achieve. But having said ways of dealing with anger, am I angry? What makes me angry? What can I do about it? And that is why the place of how we engage with the offender, who to relate with, are we able to sit? The Bible says, come let us reason together. Even if our sins are as red as crimson, they will be made white as snow. So is there a table where we can sit and talk? Because you hear people talking about burying the hatchet.
Yeah.
You bury the hatchet, you hear people calling about ceasefire. People were armed, they were fighting, they are angry, they want to settle scores. Brings people to the table. Nobody wins a battle largely through a gun. You will sit to agree on what needs to be done. And so in difficulties, we have differences, we have disputes, sitting will be the best thing. Can we talk to agree? Can we have a give and take? But how honest are we when we are sitting? Because you are angry, because if you come to me and I offended you, am I ready to own up to my offense? Am I ready to own up to what I did wrong against you? Am I ready to admit to my mistakes? And what am I ready to do restoring or in appeasing your offense against what I did? So there ought to be mechanisms on how people are going to deal with the things that have brought offenses. On top of this, one man called Gaius was told by John, prosper in all things as your soul prospers. There is nothing you would be able to do to somebody who is hurting unless, number one, we address the pain. Relate with somebody suffering from inferiority complex. Because some of the people that are angry from sitting conditions. I suffer from inferiority complex. I feel I've been treated and justified. Degree of a disorder. Am I aware of the problem? So some of the issues we talk about anger, people that are poor in relating in the workplace, some of them are dealing with mental cases. A degree of a disorder. I have a degree of. Am I aware of that? Do I know that I suffer from this? Have I taken cognizant measures to get medical redress? Because, for example, in marriage, I'm there banging tables to my wife, telling her I'm the man here. Mimi ndiye kusema. What is it? Is it really that? I'm suffering from my own limitations. I'm suffering from my own inability to forgive or to accept my own mistakes. Yet I demand that people need to pay attention to what I need corrected. But I cannot accept my own or to reflect not only on what I am, but what do I see of myself in the mirror. If everybody would get to that, then we are able to come to a common ground of people being able to relate with the challenges they face. And finally, those who are in a position of engaging, do we engage with understanding of the party that is agreeing? The young people that are agitating, do we know their pain? Do we know how much they feel rejected? Do we know how much they feel disappointed? Do we know the displeasure of them being unemployed? Are we bringing on the table to appease their pain? If you deal with somebody who is bitter, it doesn't matter what you do until we get to the root of their bitterness. The root of their bitterness. Because somebody said the bitterness, angry, and you expect you take poison, you expect the other person to die. It is me getting hurt. It is me getting pained. It is me getting rejected. It is me mistreated. I tell people it is very interesting. If a happy child, they run to allow you to play. If you provoke a mistreated child, they retrieve in pain to cry. If you challenge a dog, charge at you to fight. If you challenge a sheep, the sheep has no problem. They'll give way. So is it because of the things you do against me, or is it the wounds you affect against me? Many people are wounded.
Yeah.
If you took methylated spirit and poured it on palms of 5 people, 2 of them have wounds, the people with is the methylated problem, the spirit the problem? No, really. It is the wound that I'm carrying. And so there are many people that are suffering bitterness, anger. Some of them have their own wounds. If they were, they will not be blaming the people that offend them. They'll be able to know, I am wounded because I suffered sitting under a stepmother. I am wounded because my father. I am wounded because I compared myself with the children of my neighbor. They seem to be doing good. How do I redress that? If I get healed, I will. What are my allergens? Because if I'm reacting to a certain fragrance, or I reacted to meat, it is me to avoid meat. The reaction is because of what I take, not because I am bad. To this, and that will give me my own peace. I'll also become a peaceful person to the other party in our relation and in our interaction.
Yeah. Okay, I hear you on that. Very well put across. As we speak right now, even when you look at social media and even when you interact with people, you realize that many people are agitated. You know, people are angry in one way or the other, you know, and just a small disagreement can cause this big tiff. You even get to wonder, okay, that was just a really little disagreement. It didn't need to... So maybe what's the best way to calm down when in that moment of anger? Personally, you know, individually, how can someone work on themselves to just calm down? You realize, okay, yes, I'm angry, but how do I calm down things or to push things out of proportion?
The intelligence we spoke about, emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Because anger has caused so many misfortunes in life. You are offended by an authority, you spoke things which you can, and there you are. You are angry because somebody disappointed your expectations, for example, in a relationship. And you say all manner of epithets, you block them, what we are doing very easily, block them, you malign them, and when your emotions are settled, you are there now wishing, I never said what I said. And that's why we said self-control.
And words are never taken back.
You can never take them back.
Are out there, they're already
you
out
broke
there.
Trust.
Yes.
You overstepped with your emotions. Your anger boiled over. It is a poison that has already contaminated. You have already said things that you cannot be able. And if everybody would be keen about that, we will be careful. The Bible says, be quick to hear, slow to speak. If we are slow to speak, I will be able to come tomorrow and ask you, by the way, I'm sorry, yesterday what was it about? It will be easy at that point, even for you able to respond and relate with your pain, with my approach, because I was the aggressor, according to you. We said it is anger towards a perceived offender. To you, I was offensive. To you, I never did what is right. Let me give you this analogy, which sounds very interesting. The Bible says everybody is wise in the book of James. Those who are angry, agitated, they quarrel, they rave, they are wise. But the Bible says that wisdom, it is carnal, it is of the flesh, it is of the enemy. And then the Bible talks about people that are wise. You can only prove your wisdom by how you relate to situations, by how you do things, the wisdom that you are. And you can never give peace if you don't have peace. You can never give peace if you don't have peace. You yourself, I challenge everybody watching us today, can you work on your personal emotional security? Can you work on your personal dignity? That you are well assured of who you are, you know who you are. If somebody would come and use derogatory terms, wewe umbwa. But if you are not sure of yourself, you will go overboard and over-amplify the negative things they said about you to be able to create whatever. Negative things. Have you ever looked at politicians? Politicians use crisis to promote their brand. And negative things. You abuse me, you say negative things. For me, that is publicity. I'll be in the headlines tomorrow. Now, look at that. It is much as you say what is the negative, much as you actually they create crisis if it is not there to define themselves in the public space. Just a question of how do I see, how do I perceive, how do I relate with what is negative, so that when they throw lemons, if they throw rocks, can you use them to build? How can I get constructive with the negative things that happen to me? And that's why they say in conflict management, conflicts is not bad. If we go higher in our understanding, in our relating, in our maturity of the values that we develop out of the conflict. So you can easily take offense to be constructive in the space that you are in.
All right. When does anger or bitterness get to a point where someone should seek help?
The things that when we are angry, the emotions are temporal. Anger is emotions that are temporal and they are passive. So when I was angry, I took my anger again and I beat them terribly. When I was angry, I broke my TV screen. Later I have reality with me. The TV is broken, my emotions are gone, or I tore things, I broke things. Am I able to reflect? What is this I'm doing? What is my anger doing to me? And that's why everybody that is dealing with anger, people are talking to you, they need to consider. Today there is no shortage of information. What might be causing my anger? What is it that do I need to get redressed? And that's why we talked about anger that goes overboard. You kill somebody because you are angry. You never knew that you are dealing with. You have bipolar emotions and they are going overboard and you're doing things that are outrageous. Suppose you knew in good time that you are dealing with a mental condition, that you are dealing with a disorder. Medical redress would be greater peace, there will be a happier marriage, there will be easier children to deal with, because some of these things are counterproductive. You are a hostile father or an hostile mother. Later you have bitter children who grew advantaged because their domestic environment is an hostile environment.
Now, and as we come to a conclusion of this conversation, maybe if you can steps to get rid of anger and bitterness, just what steps should someone take the moment I realize, okay, maybe I have bitter or anger issues? What should one take?
Step number one is acknowledgement. Do I have a problem with anger? Do I admit I have a problem with anger? Once that is established, then what is the source of my anger? Is it because I have unforgiveness? Can I face the people that offended me? Is it because I was abused by people that I trusted? How can I engage to talk, to deal with this? Is it something that needs clinical attention? Can I see somebody, counselor, to get therapy, for them to talk to me and to be able to help me? For those that are spiritual, anger is a fruit of the flesh. How can I get more serious with my spiritual work to be able to overcome my negative emotions out what I have been to a blessing to other people, how much am I able to confess to the people that have offended me that indeed I was wrong, I did this, I did the other? When we confront when we confront our anger, when we confront our pain, when we confront our offenders. In my case, I told you I had to face my sister.
Yeah.
She did what she did. To me, it was offensive. To her, she was right. And to offload myself, I faced the person who has offended me. That gave me a huge benefit in life. I am free from anger. I easily relate with offenders, people that will do things that are against, because I faced my situation. And I'm no longer able to get back there. I think I've been able to develop my skills. I've been able to develop my abilities. I'm able to be empathetic. I know what it means to do, and I'm able to appreciate and understand. So one has to get cognizant steps. I am aware I am suffering from this. I want to take these measures. I want to confess to the people that have offended me. I want to speak that of, I want to declare that I don't like this. Once we are able to do that, because the biggest mistake we do when I'm offended by you, I won't tell you, but I tell others. Then I turn to be a social misfit, a gossiper, and I'm not telling you how bad you are. And by the way, I'm telling them allegedly in confidence. Yesterday morning I woke up and I was joking with my son. I told him, yule ulimwambia asiniambie aliniambia. Yule ulimwambia asiniambie aliniambia nisikuambie. You know, now you have completed the circuit. Somebody spoke to you about me, told you not to tell me.
Tell you not to tell
them that you have told me. I think that is a very beautiful circle. So am I able to come to you in my displeasure, in my pain, and tell you I don't like the way things are working? Can we work out a better understanding? And we are able to build a healthier society, build healthier families, build healthier working places, and build institutions that we are working around. And largely a nation. Because to have bitter people within the nation, people that feel fair against others and all that, we need to create what we have envisioned in the Constitution: equity. All these shared values, consider the disadvantaged, consider the young people, create, be intentional about what you are doing, in what we are saying. And largely, I believe we will be able to take away the negative emotions that we are using against people we love, against a nation we appreciate, and we'll be able to have us welfare in our society.
Thank you so much, Pastor, for this conversation and for laying it out so well. We really appreciate your presence here today.
God bless.
All right, now this is where we end Good Morning Kenya for today. Remember, do this again, same time, same place. My name is Vivian Dagwa. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Goodbye.
For the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. In this edition, Heroic Team Kenya is pushing boundaries as well.
An Olympic gold medal.
More significantly, Kenya is intent on claiming victory at the quadrennial sporting event comprising of 45 sports that will be staged from the 11th of August. Here comes a dose for everyone.
Yes, it is!
For the athlete, it is chasing a dream of a lifetime. And for the fan, taking live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
I never heard the music so so sweet. I repeat.
Walk on, me brethren, big things are going. Remember, each and every Monday we have to shell down the place with nothing but the best of smooth way the vibes in your favorite.